Hi, nice to see you both. Thank you so much for making some time for us.
Hey.
Tell me about this single, All Comes Crashing. I listened to it and it sounds really cool. It sounds like some, classic metric vibes, but also very fresh and new as well. It really got me right away. It's very piercing sound to it immediately and throughout. So tell me all about it.
Well, I'm so glad that that's your response. You know well enough that we're going to put all our love into our music, obviously, but this one is just, we wanted to convey with the first song back, like that idea of, thinking about the people who've been next to you through a hard time. Without, we really hoped that we'd be not thinking about the pandemic at this point, but I think we're all still just kind of reeling from not only what the world's gone through in that regard, but also like other world events. It just sort of seems like humanity is having a tough moment. And, the idea of the song being like, who is that person beside you when things really come down? That feeling, it could be your best friend. It could be, in my case, your dog, or, someone in your family or your wife, your husband. But the idea of like, I think we've all found those relationships really come to clarity, maybe Jimmy, so yeah, that's the idea. Is that what you got?
I think it is. Yeah, I wondered about it, and that's what's gonna be my next question. Actually, is when abouts did you write it?
So actually, this one was about a year ago, I'd say, something like that. So I definitely remember us feeling like it's going to be so great because we're waiting and we're going to release music after the pandemic is over, and our music is going to be the moment of celebration when we all feel, like we really purposely didn't want to be making music or individual songs that are about that, about it. But it's weird though, because like I feel like metric songs are always kind of about what's going on in the world in a way. Like we like to interpret and maybe make ourselves useful to people by, interpreting the world around us and trying to maybe help you process your feelings a little bit. So it's not, I don't know, to me, does it sound really different to you? Like, do you feel like you hear pandemic in that song?
No, and I think yeah, I hear what you're saying there too. It's like any good music too, and certainly metric music often is like here's the situation, here's maybe what's bad about it, but we're gonna have a dance party and focus on what's good.
Totally.
That is very much the way we operate.
Yeah. Like acknowledge the problem, recognize the feeling, somehow make the sonics, which is Jimmy's whole world, somehow express the feelings, which I still don't really understand about music, how like a sound can express a feeling, but seems to keep working for humans. And then like put all that together so that you can like go to the concert, stand next to your best friend and be like, when it all comes crashing, I'm glad I'm standing with you,
Yeah. Jimmy, can you talk a little bit about that sonic sound? Because I do find it's like, my favorite metric songs are the ones like this one, like Stadium Love always springs to mind as well. Something that really complements Emily's vocal and then like is just so big as well. And that's kind of what I got from this one too. Can you tell me about how this one came together for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's metric songs happen in a few different ways. That this is sort of one of the classic ways that Emily walks into the studio, sits down at the piano, and like plays a song from beginning to end. And then I just kind of sit with it and let my imagination go about mostly just what the beat's going to be and like what the rhythm's going to feel like. And then once it kind of gets up off the ground, there's a bunch of directions it can go. And speaking to like that the feeling of that size, it's funny when I was young working on music, and you always kind of think that like the more stuff you pile on top of it, the bigger it's going to feel. And it's actually very much the opposite. Is what's taken me a few decades to learn, and it's when you actually have one huge thing that you can feel the space around it. You're not taking up the space. So it kind of, that song in particular, more than other stuff that we've worked on in this last couple of years, that one really kind of stands out to me, is where you hear the beat, you hear the vocal, and then the rest of the stuff is just kind of like in this supporting role to just give you like size and sort of gravitas, a feeling like you're in the whole world with everybody else.
Oh, that's really cool. It's interesting, Emily, to hear you say that your dog was on your mind in the writing of this song. Can you tell us what kind of doggy? What's their name? What are they all about?
Well, before I bring the dog into frame, I would just preface it to say that, I guess my main point in saying that is to emphasize, like, I really feel like the different kinds of love aren't given enough credit. Like there's, especially like in music, and I remember, the early days being like, no love songs. Like, so to me, I feel like romantic love is one kind of love, and it can definitely, it's very important in people's lives, but it really isn't the only thing. And so I feel like I'm really trying to like make that point, which is why I went so far with the dog. But like people's friendships and families that they make, their band, they're like, a lot of people have alternative ways of living where they've made their family or they've found their love. And it's, I have this sort of, I feel like You Got a Friend is like the best song ever written. Like, isn't that the thing that everyone wants to hear? So on that note, let me go get my dog.
Okay, sure.
Rome's is definitely a part of the family up here.
Oh,
No question about it.
okay.
Oh.
Ross, I know, buddy. Come on,
Hi.
say hi.
Sweetheart, hi. Oh, sweet little face.
He hugs me. Look at that.
Yes. Oh, I can feel the love.
When it all
Nice.
comes crashing.
Okay, thank you so much. And now it goes back. Okay, great. So whether, in context of this particular song and, a big return to the scene for Metric or the forefront with new music, or just in general, when I think of Metric, I really think of, you all being at the kind of the tip of a new movement in Canadian music, which has brought so much great music in the last, I want to say 15 years, so much great new sounds, so much experimentation and variety, which is really great. So do you think about that? Is that ever a consideration, or do you reflect on it, what Metric means now at this point in music in general?
I mean, that's a really great question. I mean, in a lot of ways, like definitely at the beginning for us in, 2003, 4, 5, early aughts, whatever, we had no intention of doing what we ended up doing other than just making music, forging a career for ourselves, and getting out there and experiencing the world, and it was really not until, the early, teens, 2011, 12, 13, that we kind of realized like what we'd done, and that it was part of something, that it was part of like a movement of musicians and people and ideas and sounds, and now it's like such a strange time. It feels so disjunct, and it's hard to really know like if something is a part of something or not, or like what. This was almost the feeling before the pandemic even, is that, there's like things are so sort of not like fractured necessarily in a bad way. It's just that like movements in music don't really happen the same way. Like a sound doesn't come out of a place anymore,
Yeah.
used to happen that way, and it kind of doesn't, for better or for worse. So for us, I think it's still the most important thing to just do what feels the most honest and the most pure to us. And like we did, back in the early days for us, that's all we really ever did. And it ended up having really positive effects on us and people around us. So I think we just try and stay as true to that original intention as possible, and just hope that more good comes from it.
Emily, any reflections from you?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just really appreciate you saying that, because it is very nose to the grindstone in our little organization. And I think, when it comes to the principles of indie, like, you and I could have a whole separate, we could do an hour-long sit down. I'd love to chat about it, because I feel so strongly about like the ethics and the idea of that to be an artist, like you creating the infrastructure and the sort of like scaffolding so that you can develop into a real world-class artist without having to be put through the sort of sausage maker machine of necessarily like the big global marketing major label system, and which totally works for some people and is fully rad for them. And like, I'm actually think that makes total sense. But for other people, the idea of participating in like, or helping someone get the inspiration and see that it's possible, that you can completely kind of forge your own way, stick to whatever your principles are. You're like, whatever your weirdo identity is, like I've stuck to mine, you know, everyone's tolerated me all this time, and you just develop your own unique self. I feel like if I've helped anyone stick to that path or, you know, see a way forward with that, then I feel like that helps me get out of bed in the morning and like, you know, keep going and keep writing. And because it's a ridiculous industry, and it's, you have to have so much, you know, in our case, because it's a band, it's all, it really is about that like family and that little team and that loyalty. Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. And I hope that there are people, I know, I feel like for young bands right now, that's really just breaks my heart when I would see cancellations and stuff. Like when you're just starting out, it's so hard. And I would just say like to anyone coming up, like just keep at it and like, don't let this, you know, knock you down too hard, but easy to say, hard to do.
Yeah. Finally, before I let you go, I just want to inquire as to if there's any plans or excitement for touring coming up, because I know here in Victoria, we have a lot of great memories of seeing you. I can't remember. I don't think I was at the show, but I've heard it a million times. The stories of, I think, Emily climbing on speakers and things.
Okay, so this is funny because I was just saying, it's just a rumor that I'm going to start crowd surfing again. I don't know who started it, but I was picturing and referencing that exact speaker stack.
So that was at Sugar, and I remember, I remember seeing it happen when it happened, and I remember thinking, "There's no way you're jumping off that thing! Oh my god!" And sometime in the like very short term after that happened, I saw a photograph that had been like Emily.
Oh yeah, it was like a time lapse.
And I don't know where that photo is. I don't know, man. So if any Victoria listener out there has that photograph, we want to see it.
We do. It was like a time lapse of me like going into the crowd.
Okay, we'll put that out there for sure, because it definitely, it's like you know, it's up there with in the pantheon of great Victoria show moments. It's like awesome. Nirvana playing underground in 1989, you know, Macklemore playing the minute before he broke out, and then it's Metric and Emily jumping off the stack. Great. Well, we can't wait, you know, to see.
And yeah, there are plans and there's a lot of excitement. So
good. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you both again for making the time. Really nice to chat with you. Really excited for the new song and new music. And we can't wait to see you soon.
Right on. Thanks for having us.
Peace.
Thanks, team.
The Zone at 91.3.